First topic we'll be talking about today is the Saudi Arabia Esports World Cup. Now, for those of you who did not see what's going on with this, these are the same people that did Gamers 8. Gamers 8 was a $1 million Street Fighter 6 tournament that happened a week after Evo. The one that Kakeru won. He won $400,000. And so they decided to, I guess this World Cup is going to implement a bunch of different esports in one. It's not just going to be one. I guess that's why they call it the World Cup. I assume they're going to invite teams of players from all over the place. There's actually a trailer here that we can check out that should give us a little bit more info. But there's
Fast forward to today.
People have been talking a lot about this. That was the prize at the
first esports competition in history. Fast forward to today, and the world's best esports athletes are competing for six-figure prizes. Gaming culture has become the new pop culture, and a $200 billion industry. Esports athletes now sell out Madison Square Garden in minutes. Still, esports has yet to realize its full potential. 3 billion people play video games, but only 15% of gamers follow esports. How do we make it 50% or 100? By creating a new home for esports, a global stage committed to the growth of the ecosystem.
Oh, what's up, Raven? How you doing?
Cross-game competition for
I assume it's Raven.
The best clubs compete across multiple
Good
games
meeting you, brother.
to crown the best esports club in the world. An investment in the future of esports talent, with the largest prize pool in the history of esports. Because stronger esports athletes need stronger competition. And what better place to bring gamers from all over the world together every summer than Rio, the bridge between the West and the East. This is Esports World Cup, Summer 2024, Rio, Saudi Arabia.
Now, there's a few different things to talk about with this, right? Because the immediate reaction from a lot, like if you go and you check the quotes of this, hopefully we don't click on anything too dangerous here. A lot of people we know are speaking on this. Chris CCH, we got Big Bird talking about this is going to be huge. Saudi Arabia is the future of esports and you're here for it. Justin Wong talking about it, right? I feel like, first of all, I think that this org reached out to these players and paid them for promotion. That's my first assessment. It's too overwhelmingly positive in my eyes to not be that. I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't see them doing all this with the hashtag and all that unless it was paid promotion, which is fine. Secure your bag, that's fine. However, there's something very, very important that we have to talk about when we're talking about this Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabian esports in general. So for those of you who don't know, right, esports is going through kind of a winter, they're calling it the esports winter, because a lot of the bubble is bursting, and so there's a lot of orgs that just don't have the money to operate. There's been a lot of tournament series that are shut down and stuff like that, right? And so one of the only entities that has working disposable income to do cool things at events is Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia has tons of money. They just have money to throw, and they've been throwing it, right? That's why they're able to do the Street Fighter tournament, right? That's expensive. It's very expensive, especially to fly everyone to Saudi Arabia. It's not easy, right? It takes a lot of money and a lot of resources, but they have it, right? And so the initial response for a lot of people is going to be, this is super fucking sick. A big entity wants to give us money to do cool stuff, and it seems like everything is sunshine and rainbows. However, unfortunately, there's something really, really big that I think people are missing, and that is Saudi Arabia's policy on LGBTQ community, which is very, very bad. It is not good. And so we put ourselves into this situation where if you accept millions upon millions of dollars from these entities that want to run these events, right? A lot of people are going to be excluded from this because they cannot exist in that country safely, right? And the proportion, percentage of players that are in LGBT communities has gone up over time. Like, as more people have gotten more comfortable being accepted within these fighting game communities, right? There's been more and more and more of them. For example, a lot of the best Guilty Gear Strive players are trans, they're gay, they're lesbian, like all over the place, right? ECT just happened, right? Grand Finals was literally, I'm pretty sure Grand Finals was Umisho versus Tempest, both trans, right? It's like this is a problem, right? This is an issue, because now the fighting game community is going to have to ask themselves, are we willing to do away with our morals to accept this amount of money? Because it's a lot of money, right? Obviously. And so people are it's gonna come down to, are they willing to sacrifice that to secure the bag? It's gonna be an issue as things go forward. I feel very strongly about, like, it really sucks. It really sucks that one of the only places that actually has money to work with is a place that actively hates, marginalized groups like that. And so, like, I can't really get behind it. I just can't. It just doesn't align with my ideology of, like, being as diverse and accepting as possible. We'll keep an eye on it to see how things go, but, like, that's a big roadblock for me. Yeah, and I think it's one that you're never gonna get them to budge on, right? It's like a culturalistic thing that's hard to change, right? It's difficult. So there's that. But yeah, we'll continue to follow that as things goes on. Next thing to come was Smash Ultimate at the Big House 11. So for those of you who were not watching, this was the tournament I was at this weekend. Big House 11, really long running series. Players from all over, right? And so featuring both Melee and Smash Ultimate, and also some traditional fighters, but in terms of Sunday finals, Melee, Smash Ultimate. Melee is first of the top 8, so it's not the last event, because there's some Nintendo stuff, right? Some Nintendo stuff. Nintendo usually likes for Smash Ultimate to be last, because it feels like the ultimate event, like the main event, the moment you've all been waiting for, so to speak. And so Melee top 8 happens, and this crowd, like, it was full, right? It was, like, completely full for Melee. Some people were even, like, standing in the aisles because there was no place to sit. But after Melee ended, a lot of people left, and so people have been taking pictures of the crowd and whatnot during Ultimate. And so this has caused, like, kind of more division between the two games. And so, like, there's some like things here to talk about, right? Because, like, there's a lot of shit slinging on either side. People are saying this or that, right? Ultimate at Big House is not small. It's not small tournament. It's 500 people, right? 500 people is a lot, all things considered. But the issue, right, is that the way Ultimate scene works, their ranking system doesn't incentivize for top players to go to tournaments unless other top players are going to tournaments. So it's kind of backwards in that regard. So under normal circumstances, right, you run a tournament, and if it garners a lot of attention and a lot of people sign up, then top players want to go because, it adds legitimacy to the event. The prize pools are bigger, it's more impressive to win, right, stuff like that. Unfortunately, the way that Ultimate's ranking system works is you can only really gain points. If you win over other top players. And so what happens is this really weird dynamic where, if you guys have ever seen penguins, when penguins are all standing on a cliff and they're all waiting for one person to be the first to jump in, but none of them wants to go first. That's kind of like what it's like for Ultimate tournaments right now, because they just don't. The ranking system only, like, it super prioritizes wins over other top players as opposed to winning big tournaments. So, like, winning a 16-person tournament with 2 top players is worth more than a 500-person tournament with no one that's in the top whatever, right? That's an issue. And so that has caused a lot of Ultimate top end to like feel like it's not worth it, or you know, this or that. There's also been some bullshit that has been said, like some people were saying we feel like a side event, we're not treated equally. That's bullshit. I mean, I could just tell you straight up, like I run this event, like this is not they're not treated any differently. Ultimate and Melee had the same amount of setups, the same number of streams, like all that is the same, right? So that's BS. But what is valid is, like, you know, there's a lot of top players that feel like it's not worth it to them. Let's make big moves this next week. And you know, there weren't a lot of top players that wanted to take the dive on this one, and unfortunately there were a few that signed up and then dropped out, so it like took away legitimacy from the event as well. So like, yeah, people post pics like this to be like inflammatory, right? They're trying to like, so I don't know, it's like weird, like people want people to fight, which is just like I don't know. At the end of the day, like, it's just events. We should just be grateful. We should just be grateful that we're running events in the first place. And yeah, I feel really bad for the guys that were in grand finals with Syrup and Onin, because like you're in the unfortunate circumstance of like, if you go and you win, right, there's going to be a bunch of people that are like, well, that win didn't really matter because this and that, this top player didn't go, this player dropped out, whatever. It like, I hate that, you know, it could feel like that, because winning a 500 person ultimate tournament is not easy. It's just not, it's not an easy thing to do, right? So I don't know, I think that's dumb, and people that are also like trying to like pour gasoline on the flames are also just like being purposely destructive. I don't know what you're trying to gain in all of this, but I hope those people fuck off, for lack of a better term. Yeah, so moving on, next topic, MK1. Yeah, okay. So Mortal Kombat, ECT happened this weekend, which was the first stop of the Mortal Kombat 1 Pro competition, their official circuit. And right after ECT is done, what does NRS do? They patch the game. They patch the game. Like actually patch the game, which is, it's crazy because, you know, the last big tournament, the last big game to come out was Street Fighter 6, right? And Street Fighter 6 is taking the opposite approach of, we're not going to patch the game for a year. We're going to let things play out and then we're going to patch after. NRS seems to be doing the opposite, where right after the first big event is over, they immediately patch the game. And this has caused quite a lot of division between people that are playing the game and people that are watching the game. Main things that were attacked: Cyrax. Cyrax is the most popular assist in the game. They changed Cyrax to, so under normal circumstances, when you call an assist in this game, it takes half of your cameo bar, so you get 2 calls before you're out, right? Cyrax, if you call Cyrax, it takes the whole bar, so you only get 1 call, which means your damage extensions are way less, like the pressure is much less, right? And so that's a big deal, right? There's some other changes in there as well, but NRS pulling the trigger immediately and saying, we're patching the game. We're patching the game, and yeah, this brings into question, you know, patch philosophy, like patch culture and patch philosophy impact fighting games in a big way, right? It in fact, it's like unavoidable at this point. And so, like, you know, this has people talking about, like, was this a good idea? Was this a bad idea? I've seen a lot of takes from people saying that, you know, I wish they would have kind of brought other cameos up to his level instead of bringing him down. Other people saying, you know, Cyrax had to go no matter what, whatever means, by any means necessary, type deal. Some things to note, right? This patch is extremely soon, right? This is very soon for a patch of a game. Usually early on, like, there are bug fixes, because when you release a game, there's obviously stuff that you'll miss, because you just can't put as many play hours in as players, right? But like, to actually do balance patch this early is like kind of sets an interesting precedent. In some ways it is interesting, I guess, for people, because things are going to be constantly changing, and a lot of fighting game culture nowadays is contingent upon like making people feel like things are always new and exciting, and I think maybe for casuals it might feel that way, but for competitors it's a nightmare, right? Like you spend a bunch of time like developing strategy, doing this and that, all for it to just not matter because it gets patched out of the game. Really interesting thing. I really don't like them doing this early. I don't know if this is how they will continue to attack it as time goes on, but it's very scary if that is the way things are gonna go. So yeah, interesting stuff from NRS. If you want to see exactly what patches, what patch did what, I recommend this video from Wazminator. Funny thing about Waz actually, like, I've met Waz through Dragon Ball. Like, he used to play Dragon Ball. He used to be a viewer actually. And now he's, you know, now that he has like new Mortal Kombat games, he's like gone back to that. He's very big creator. I think he's looks like 100K on YouTube or something. Like, he's a really big creator. So if you're looking for breakdowns, he's someone that I trust. Feel free to check him out. I'll leave the link in the description. Okay, moving on. Okay, this one's gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt, guys. This morning, Nintendo released community tournament guidelines. Oh boy, this is ugly, ladies and gentlemen. This is bad. This is bad news. Also, let me move over here for this because they're really yeah. So right after Big House is over, not a coincidence by chance, not a coincidence by the way. Like, I have no doubt in my mind, right? No doubt in my mind they waited until after Big House was over to put this out. They put out community tournament guidelines, and they, you know, they give us some bullshit about, you know, we really respect the passion of players, this and that. Let us give, yeah, no. So this is actually really bad. This is really bad. So what Nintendo is essentially doing, there's a lot of text here, by the way. There's a lot of stuff. And all of it is restrictions, right? All of it is restrictions on what you can and cannot do when you run a tournament using a Nintendo property. Some important things to note: there's restrictions on the amount that you can have for a prize pool. There's a limit on how many players can actually participate in the event. Tournaments may include up to 200 participants for in-person tournaments. That's already a red flag, considering Big House this past weekend had 500 for Ultimate and I believe well over 1,000 for Melee, right? This is an issue, right? That's a problem. That's a big issue. There's restrictions on how much a tournament organizer can make in terms of money. It restricts the sponsors that they can work with and third-party companies. All bad. All just really bad stuff, right? And Nintendo does this because they are a very like control freak company. Like, they want to have control over literally every single thing that is done with their IPs. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of avenues to fight back against this. If Nintendo decides to go to a tournament and C&D them, there's pretty much nothing you can do about it. It's happened before as well. Big House, whenever it was being run over pandemic and switched to an online only event, they got C&D'd by Nintendo and weren't able to function, right? And so this is a very real threat that we face. I don't think it goes into it. Yeah, we have a little bit of time before it goes into effect. November 15th. I actually think I saw some people say that it applies to Japan and EU at the moment, not to America just yet. But I mean, without a doubt, like these restrictions are coming for NA tournaments as well. Very scary stuff. It's bad. It's like really bad. It's just, you know, Nintendo is such a frustrating company to even be adjacent to, because like they try to make it sound like they're doing us a favor, when in reality we never asked for anyone to do us any favors. In fact, we would be totally fine if they just let us, they just left us alone and we just got to function on our own devices. Like, we would be fine with that. We've already let go of the idea of like Nintendo supporting tournaments officially, like, you know, giving us social media presence, giving us money. Like, we already knew that was never gonna happen. But we would have been okay with them just leaving us alone. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and these restrictions all they do is make things harder and harder for TOs to run Smash Brothers tournaments, which is a damn shame because Smash tournaments are the biggest of the fighting game community. They're just like by numbers. You just look at numbers, they're just the largest. With the exception of like Evo, right? Like obviously Evo is like much bigger, but like generally like they're just the largest fighting game tournaments. So it's like, yeah, it's a real shame that you have to jump through hoops like this. It's like, it's so crazy. It's such whiplash to see companies like Capcom, like doing $2 million prize pools for Capcom Cup. You see Mortal Kombat 1 official circuit, you know, Tekken official circuit, KOF official circuit, like all this dev support, and then we turn around and we go to Smash Brothers, and Nintendo not only doesn't support, but they actively harm the scene, right? And that is a real damn shame. And this might seem familiar to you before. So like essentially what one of the biggest things about this is that they're pretty much saying like you need to follow these guidelines, and by following these official guidelines you can obtain a license, right? You can get a license to run a tournament, which the license will protect you from being CND, right? From getting your tournament taken down. Big things to consider though. It's not that easy. First of all, if you go to, actually, I'll pull this up. If you go to their site, where there's a form, there's a form where you can go for licensing, right? I think HBox had it on his. Did I see it on there? Did he delete the tweet? He might have deleted the tweet. I'm not sure. But long story short, right, like you can obtain a license for your tournament, but if you go to the website to obtain said license, it only Switch games. So Melee's not there, right? Melee's not on the drop down list, so you can't get a license for a Melee tournament. That's really fucking bad, right? And so yeah, that's an issue in and of itself, right? You can obtain licenses for ARMS and 1-2 Switch and all that, but there is no option for Melee. It's only Switch games. So like this presents another really big issue. So I'm not really sure how we're gonna deal with that. Obviously we have a little bit more time. I think the best thing that we're gonna do is probably just ignore it. Like that's pretty much what we're gonna do. We're gonna ignore it, and unfortunately, you know, ignoring it puts us in the fucked up situation of you know, if you ignore it and you just decide to run tournaments anyway, you risk all your hard work, them just knocking on your door a day before the tournament and saying nope, can't do that, and there's no fighting back. There's no fighting back there. So yeah, it's ugly. It's really ugly, and this has actually been done before as well. For those of you who don't remember, Capcom tried the same thing, right? Capcom tried the same exact thing with Street Fighter, right? They said, check out our new community license agreement, right? And in this agreement, they tried to do the same thing where they tried to, you know, impose restrictions on the amount of money that you could run tournaments for, the amount of participants, this and that, right? And they got backlash. They got so much backlash that they eventually reversed it, right? They were like, okay, if we keep this in place, no one's gonna play our game. So we're yeah, they went back on it. Thankfully, this was long before Street Fighter 6 came out, so it didn't affect their marketing that badly. But companies keep trying to do things like this, and it is just really harmful. And unfortunately, in Nintendo's case, they don't care that it's harmful, right? Capcom does care, but Nintendo does not. They really don't give a fuck. And so yeah, scary stuff. We'll continue to update whenever, you know, as things develop, but it is ugly, guys. I'll leave a link to this document in the description if you want to go back and check out what all is a part of this, because it is not pretty. It is not pretty in the slightest. So, but yeah, that is it for the first edition of Scoops. If you enjoyed the breakdowns and everything, make sure you leave a like and comment. I think I'm gonna maybe try to do this like, I mean, I don't want to do like a I don't want to do this like scheduled. I kind of just like, as I get enough topics to talk about, then I'll just do them. And so yeah, whenever new things develop and we have enough to do another episode, we'll do another one.